Good afternoon and welcome to Reports That Jump Off the Screen with Microsoft Project Desktop. This is the session we'll be doing today. We'll be talking about the reporting surface that is available in the Project 2013 desktop, as well as some of the other features that help work along with that. But to kick us off, let's actually introduce ourselves. First of all, my name is Phil Allen. I am with the project development team. I am a dev lead on that team. My team owns virtually everything that you can actually see in that project desktop client. Before this most recent release, I actually owned a lot of the project desktop with SharePoint features, so I know a bit about the server timeline and sync with SharePoint functionality. And before that, at Microsoft, which I've been there 12 years, I spent 8 years working on Front Page and SharePoint Designer, working on other things that ended up working with SharePoint. So there's definitely an arc in there. And over to my co-presenter.
I'll wander over here. So good afternoon. It's great to see everybody. Obviously, not being a Microsoft person, I'm super excited to be here. Just to make you all aware, this is my 4th or 5th conference that I've spoken at. So it's always nervous to be up here. It's always great. I'm from the UK, as you can tell from the accent. So I speak the Queen's English, not American English. So if you need me to slow down, just let me know. I do a bunch of things. Things that I'm probably most proud of is the MVP award. It's great to see some of the other MVPs up here. So that's a recognition by Microsoft for some of the work that perhaps we do out in the community, whether it's through the MPOG or answering questions on forums or coming to conferences like this and standing up. And you all want it to all fail for us, and we all want it desperately to work. So hopefully we'll get it somewhere in the middle. So that's me. Phil.
Cool. So let's do the quick tour of what we're going to be doing today. First, we're going to talk about reporting through the versions, because we say this is what we're doing for 2013. Well, it's nice to have that backdrop of what we've done in those previous versions. We're going to talk specifically what we're really going to talk about in kind of the detail. We're going to move on. We'll do some demos. We'll start with the timeline, and then we'll really move on to the reporting surface and all the integrations that are possible from there. So those are like the main things that we'll be doing today, and that should give you kind of the overview. But the real question is, why reporting? I mean, like, name of the reporting's in the session. Why do people do it? I bet 95% of the people in the room know exactly why they care. And they should, hold on to that reason really specifically. But, in talking about it and thinking through it, reporting enables the project manager to communicate with all the different stakeholders so that stakeholder can make the decisions they need to make, having gotten the data in the format that works best for them. And there's a lot of different elements to that, and about making sure that you have the data and the format of it work correctly for the audience, giving them what they need so they can do the right next thing. And whether that's upper management making the right decisions about whether to start a project or not, or whether the people actually implementing the project understanding exactly how they fit into the big picture and what's next and who's next. All of that is important, and all of that is very doable with reporting. Now, we want to talk a little bit about reporting through the versions. Well, Ben's talked at, you said 4 project conferences? 5?
4 or 5. Yeah.
And been an MVP for 5 years. I think actually this would be something Ben would be great for.
Okay, right. So we just thought we'd put this slide up because it's important for you to understand the capability of your version of Project. So hands up here if you're using Project 2003. Top man, so at least one. So that top line there is the reporting options that you have in Project 2003. So those kind of what I would call the wall of data reports that you can see. Who's using 2007? Okay, so he's using 2003 and 2007. He's a consultant. In 2000 and 2000, you beat me. He beats me. And so in 2007, the innovation in there was the visual reports, and we'll show you that. So the ability to drive Visio or Excel reporting out of the project data via an intermediary file, which was effectively a desktop OLAP cube. In 2010, who's using 2010? Yes, hey, that's cool. So 2010 introduced the timeline. Do you like the timeline? Yeah, He's responsible for the timeline, okay? So come around, shake his hand later on. Yeah, that is a good feature. So that's in 2010 and 2013. And then in 2013, who's using 2013? Okay, so good majority. So I suspect some of you are using both versions there. The USP, the unique selling point for 2013 for me, there's a few of them, but the key one is reporting. Okay, so this whole new reporting canvas is absolutely key. And you'll notice in 2013, it dropped off those wall of data reports, so those are no longer available in 2013. So that was something you should be aware of, and we'll show you kind of what you can do if you still need that sort of data. Just me? Okay, you can tell we prepped this up. What are your reporting options? Well, we thought we'd stick them all on the screen here. Taking screen grabs is still something that I do for status reports, actually. I'll just go and grab a screen dump of a customer status report and put that into, or a view in Project and put that into Word for a status report. Obviously, in print views, we've got exporting data to our visualization tools, which is visual reports and the timeline. And then we've got this whole new visual reports tab. Okay, this is what we're going to concentrate on today in this session. So there's much more, but we thought we'd just deal with this. So, given that you've got the man who owns Timeline here, let's hand it over back to Phil.
All right. So here we have a kind of standard-looking construction project about doing all the design for the overall architecture, for doing the heating and cooling, and doing the electrical design. And this is a timeline that I want to be able to send out to my boss, and for my boss to forward on to the people who actually have commissioned this building to be built. Well, they really want the high-level view, and so let's actually build a high-level timeline. So I'm going to start by condensing this down to just the summary tasks, and I have the project summary task. It's actually named Timeline Demos, the file. But I'm going to condense it down to just the summary tasks by using the outline level 1, and so now I just have these 4 tasks. I'm going to select all 4. I'm going to go over the Task tab, and I'm going to add a timeline, and there they are on the timeline. All of this totally possible in Project 2010. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to, because I'm looking at this saying, well, that timeline, the project summary task, is kind of the overall thing, I'm actually going to make it a call-out element, and then I don't like the label being quite here, so I'm going to pull it up, and if you play around with it, you'll find that there's a little bit of snapping to vertical, so it's easy to get the nice vertical line. I drag that, everything reshapes. Now I'm going to put some colors on it, because that kind of blue, it's fine, but I don't have a lot of visual difference. And so I'm going to do some orange, I'm going to do some blue, I'm going to do some blue, and I'm going to do some green, and now I'm going to make this 3 different colors. It's got a nice visual appeal, and I actually want to send this off. And it turns out, for the sake of this, I'm going to use the copy timeline functionality. I'm going to say for email, copies it, and all those different options really are how big it ends up being. So I have it now for email, and now I can actually send it to Ben. Boom. Send. Send anyway. You'll know what I'm talking about. But this, like I said, this is actually for my boss and to send off to the stakeholders. The people actually doing the work, they probably want a much more detailed timeline. So I'm going to leave this timeline alone. I'm not going to touch it. I want to be able to refer back to it in the future whenever anything changes. So I'm going to actually create a new timeline view. So the way to do that is create it just like you would create any other sort of view in Project. I come in here, I say I want a new view. I want it to be a single view. I'm actually going to call it a detail timeline view. The type is timeline. I'm going to hit OK, and I'm going to close. Now I'm going to hit close. Well, one reason I can just hit close is that here, when I'm looking at any timeline, I can actually choose and switch between timelines. And now, I can, at any time, switch back. That's what the high-level view is, and now here's my detail view. And in this case, for the detail view, I really want to look at this architectural design, and I want to grab all of these tasks, and I want to add them to the timeline. And there they all are we have a milestone. We have this overall thing, just like before. I'm going to make it a call out. I'm going to extend it up a little bit so it looks just kind of the way I like it. And then I'm going to fill in the color, orange, orange, orange. And that way anybody who takes a look at this timeline and looks at the other timeline, these orange segments equal those orange segments, and there's a lot of visual grouping based upon that. Then if I want to grab the timeline and I want to be able to do it, like paste it in email, etc., I can just copy these blocks. I can copy, come over here, Control-N, and there I have that subsegment of the timeline with everything nicely formatted. Cool. So there's a couple other things you can do with the timeline.
Can I just interject? Did anybody know you can create 2 timelines? I know Howard did. Okay. Was that cool? Was that useful? Well, let's give it up. Let's give it up for Phil. Well done, Phil.
So there's a couple.
I was going to say, you can't just sit there and be quiet, right? It doesn't work like that. Okay?
So there's a couple of things that are also new with the timeline here in Project 2013 and SharePoint 2013 and Project Server 2013. You can actually sync your timeline with SharePoint, and you can also sync it with Project Server. And this is just the same timeline that I originally showed in both places with just enough of the UI that it's, yes, that is the project schedule web part there below it in Project Server. And here it is just below above the task list in SharePoint 2013. So now you'll be able to share out the exact timeline. The today marker will float above it in the right spot with your team. They'll be able to see it wherever it is that they're doing their collaboration.
How did you do that?
Good question. So if this were connected to Project Server, simply saving will push up the timeline. It's just there. It will just work. Since I'm not connected to Project Server, what I do is I do File, Save As, and I use Sync with SharePoint. And I can either use an existing SharePoint site or create a new one. There is a caveat that if you do an existing SharePoint site, if the tasks list was created during the 2010 SharePoint era, it won't have all the understanding about the timeline. That particular task list also has knowledge of hierarchy and conditional formatting, which was shown in the keynote. So if you have a tasks list created for 2013, like SharePoint 2013, then you'll be able to sync the timeline up and be able to share out that status with your team members. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Cool.
Cool.
Project plans could have a few hundred lines in it. Supporting that to a SharePoint site, how is that going to be?
Let's park that one, because we're not an integration into SharePoint guys. Well, actually, Phil, you are, but...
Afterwards, let's talk.
Yeah. Yeah. The whys and wherefores of why you'd want to sync with SharePoint is a valid discussion, but not for now. Yeah. Suffice to say, you get the default timeline when you synchronize up with a SharePoint site. That default timeline comes as part of that synchronization. So if you've put something on the timeline, it comes onto SharePoint. Good. Okay. So thanks for that. I want to do you an introduction, really, into the out-of-the-box reports that we have in project so that we're all at the same space. So let's put over to there. So here's a software development plan. So again, all of these plans that we use and the demos that we use are all going to be published on, I'll put a link to it from my blog, and that'll be on a SkyDrive, so you'll be able to download that. So if you want to go through these and have a look at what we've done, that's fine. So this plan here is called Software Development Plan. Actually, it's just one that's available on the web as a template, so you can download that if you're using Project 2013. And the only changes I've made to this are I've put some costs on the resource. So if we have a look at resource sheet, my costs have a dollar rate of $50 an hour. And that's the only change that you'll see from the one you can download. So at the top here, you'll see we've got a whole new reporting tab. So when you click on there, this is grouped into a couple of different sections. We have a view report section, and then we have an export section. So let me just cover off visual reports first of all, because this was introduced in 2007 and remains in the product today. Who uses visual reports? Okay, a few people, but not many. So I'm not going to actually open up a report because it's been around for a long time. But when you click on the Visual Reports tab, it gives you a list of reports that you can export your data to. And they're grouped either as Excel or as Visio. Okay, and as you scroll through, you can just start to get an overview of or a preview of what each report would look like. Now, for Visio, if you don't see the Visio reports coming in there, it's because you've not got the right version of Visio on your system. So you need Visio 2013 with data pivotgrams. Is that the?
Pivot diagrams.
Pivot
is the official
diagrams.
name.
Pivot diagrams is the official name for this solution that's in Visio. So that's what you need in order to generate these sorts of reports. So that's exporting the data. It puts it into an intermediary OLAP cube on your desktop, and then it opens up Excel or Visio and produces a report, and you can play around with that. Okay, so have a look at those. That's visual reports. That's one of your options, or one of the things that you should do and take away. I instead want to just spend the rest of our remaining time in this whole new reporting feature. So let's just have a look at what we've got. I'll take you through a couple of reports. We've got a dashboard section here, and I'll open up the project overview report. So again, this is just the vanilla report as it comes out of the box. So this canvas that we can see here is completely customizable, it's configurable, and it's live data. So let's just have a look at that. If I were to split this screen, so let's just pick up the Gantt chart in the lower portion of the screen. And let's have a look. I'm already showing 13% complete here. So this data value is being driven from, if we insert a column here, percent complete, it's being driven from this data value here. So if this percent complete gets changed because I update the task statuses, then of course we'll update the data in the report. So let's just go and do that. We've got a chart here as well which is showing percent complete. So what we'll do is we'll take this set of tasks underneath scope. Whoa. Oh, I've got a new mouse, and my new mouse is not very happy. Okay, we'll highlight those. We'll just come up to the Task tab. We'll click on Mark 100% Complete. And as we do that, then you'll see that the percent complete here has gone from 13 to 14. It's updated the report at the top, and of course this chart and all of the other data has changed. So it's live data. It's live data as it exists at that time, driven directly from the project schedule. So that's pretty neat. So now we understand that. We can get rid of this Gantt chart below. Let me give you an overview of the sorts of reports that we've got. So I'm not going to go through them all. They're all out of the box. They're all the same on every project. We have some dashboards. Let's have a look at resources. So under resources, I'll have a look at resource overview report. So again, it's just a combination of different charts, tables, graphical elements, textual elements, etc. So we've got some actual work and remaining work and baseline work. This project hasn't been baseline, so baseline's at the bottom here. Some work status, percent complete, done, and then some resource status, so how much work each type of resource in this instance has. So that's my resource. If we go back to the report, let's just have a look at the costs. I can have a look at a task cost overview report. So let's just make that a little bit nicer. We can see over here, again, we're going to look at tasks. We've got some different costs per scope or per phase of the report here. We've got a nice pie chart down here, and as we scroll down, then we've got a table giving us, again, the details that are really driving this Excel chart up at the top. And let's have a look what else we've got. And then if we was just to have a quick look at in progress, let's just have a look at a milestone report. So again, quite a nice report, quite visual in the first instance. Here's my late milestones. I don't have any. So these tables, again, are built dynamically here's my milestones up next month, and here's my completed milestones, and we have a burn down chart. We'll come down onto burn down charts later on. Okay? So that gives you hopefully a good overview of the types of reports that we get out of the box. Phil?
Cool. Thanks, Ben. So here's the high-level scenario we're actually going to work through for the rest of the time. So I'm a project manager, and I have a portfolio manager who has seen all the out-of-box reports, likes them, but needs some things that are more custom and different, and has asked me to start by making kind of this monthly highlight report showing some top-level things. And since she used to be a project manager, she says, show me all the critical tasks. That's what she wants to keep track of. We want to be able to talk about them in detail every time. So flipping into project, here I am. And I'm going to go to the Reports tab. I'm going to create a new report. And since I know that I need to do all of those critical path tasks, I'm actually going to just create a table. And this is monthly highlights. And so this table actually is showing the project summary task and the various default fields that are asked for from that task. So let's make this that critical path tasks. So first of all, I have the access to all the filters that I have saved into my project plan. So if I wanted to create a custom filter, I could absolutely do so, and then it would appear in here. But since critical comes out of the box, nothing has changed. But notice I said something about the project summary. The default level of the task that is going to be shown is actually project summary. In this case, I want all subtasks, and now I have everything from the critical path right here. The other thing is that, consulting with my portfolio manager, she would actually like the % complete before the start and finish, because when things are moving nicely in progress, it's not so important to talk about the start and finish from her perspective. So we put the % complete first by dragging it over here in this field list. We can also add additional fields. For instance, I want to put in the predecessors, and boom, there they are. I'm actually going to take them away. But this is only half of what I need. I also need the overall view of the project in addition to these late tasks. So let me finish kind of customizing things out. So I can move the table down. I'm actually just using the arrow keys there. I'm going to, just like I could in Word, Excel, PowerPoint, I'm going to add a small shape. That shape is going to be my name. Make it a little bigger. Now I need to add the overall status of the project. And so I've created, just with the insert table, effectively the table I want. I need to bring it up a little bit. It shows % complete.
Phil, you need a new mouse.
I need a new mouse. Let's make this a little wider. Bring it up a little further.
Hey,
there we are.
He's got that. Well done.
And so the last little bit I'm going to do right here is I'm going to add another shape so that I can actually have this say late tasks. And I'm going to actually make it green because...
Phil, were those late or critical?
Those are critical.
They're critical tasks.
That's why it's important to label them.
That's why she had 2 presenters, right? You have a smart one? And you have someone else.
Sorry, I couldn't see which way you were pointing on
Yeah,
that.
I know. Yeah.
Cool. So I show this off to the portfolio manager. She says, okay, that's good. But what about burn downs? I've heard burn downs are good. Now, we all saw the burn downs, not only in Ben's demo just now, but also at the keynote, but I wasn't really paying attention. But I know Ben was paying attention, so I'm going to consult with him. Say, hey, Ben, how do you do those burn downs?
Okay, so as in all good demos, I can say, of course, Phil, yeah, I know about burn downs, and let's go and have a look at those. So we're going to do that as a task overview report. And these are enabled in 2013. So in 2013, we added some extra cumulative fields with the tasks. So we've got baseline tasks, baseline remaining tasks, baseline work and baseline remaining work. And those are time phase cumulative fields. So that allows us then to drill in and have these burn down reports. So again, you can't do this from 2010. It wasn't available, but it is available in 2013, and it's a neat feature. So let's go and have a look at that. What am I at, 5? Okay, so here's Phil's previous report. Looks fairly similar, but I'm a lazy guy, right? So I've already, because I like projects, I've already had a look through all of this little lot, and I think, hey, I really like these burn down charts here. This is what we're looking at. This data is driven by those cumulative time phased columns that I talked about in 2013. And one of the things that you shouldn't be afraid of when you look at these reports is just stealing somebody else's work. Okay? Now that's okay in a work environment. It's not okay in a personal life. Okay? Don't go and steal somebody else's property. But in work, I can take this. I can right-click. I can go and copy that, and I can say, hey, I'm going to go and have a new report here. So let's click on New Report, just as Phil did. It's a blank report. I'm going to call this monthly, what was I calling this? Monthly tasks? Mm-hmm. Yeah, good. Obviously, I need to spell. Okay. So here's monthly tasks, and I can then right-click and paste in my borrowed report from earlier. So that's okay. I kind of like this report. I'm going to go over to my other dashboard and take the other one. Obviously, those of you who are really smart will be able to cut and paste 2 things at once. Okay? I haven't quite worked that one out yet, but my computing skills are not great, as you'll understand. So I can then go into my custom. Here's my monthly tasks. I can come over here and we can paste that in. So this is good. Now I want to start to change the look and feel, because obviously once you've stolen something, you don't want the owner of that to know you've stolen it. Okay? Because you want to create your own one, right? So what do we need to do here? Well, firstly, I'm just going to change the size of this a little bit, just so that you can see kind of what we get up to here. Let's just move that up. I'm just going to take this. This is a very visual, easy, intuitive canvas to work with. Yeah, you'd agree? Yeah, I only started project last week, so I picked this up. I'm sure you guys will be fine. So that one's starting to look nice. I could put a title on there, etc. We'll come and make this one the same sort of size. This one looks a bit obviously similar to the previous one that I stole. I'll change the colours on it later. But maybe I want to change the chart type or something else in here so that it looks a little bit different. So I can click up here. Now, we all know and love the ribbon, yeah? It's a great tool, especially those of you who've recently migrated from 2007 to 2010. You're all enjoying the new learning opportunity that the ribbon gives you. One of the things that you end up learning about with a ribbon is the context-sensitive menus. So as I've clicked in here, we've got a couple of new menus at the top here under Chart Tools. So I've got Design, and I've got Format. It gives me lots of options. But within Design, I've got the ability here to change the chart type. So just like Excel and charts in Excel, you can choose lots of different chart types. I'm just going to take an area chart. I'll click OK. Now I'm in trouble because it just looks like big grey. So that's no good for me. So it's because with this chart, one bit of data is hiding behind the other. So what I need to do is really reorder some of these fields. So if I take remaining actual tasks and put that on top, then it starts to begin to show the data. Now, we haven't baselined this project plan, so my baseline remaining tasks, hang on, let me say that again. We haven't baselined this project plan. No. You always baseline your plans. However, we haven't, so I'm going to get rid of this field baseline remaining tasks, and that's gone, and that's changed down here, and we'll do the same over here. So we'll get rid of baseline remaining work. Okay. So I've now come and borrowed, plagiarized another couple of charts off the report. So if reports don't look exactly what you want them to look like, Or you want to build your own reports, but there's other fields on there which you think are useful, then just go and grab them, cut and paste them, put them into another report. Make them your own, though, okay? Because you just sweated all day to produce this for your portfolio manager, and you want it to look good and look like it's yours. Is that me done?
It's excellent. Portfolio Manager loves all of that.
Brilliant, thank you.
So the Portfolio Manager is really happy. Thank you a lot, Ben. That was brilliant,
Welcome.
as you might say over in the UK. But my boss, not the Portfolio Manager, my boss wants to know all about resources. Being a boss, interested in knowing what are going on with all the resources. But my boss hasn't looked at what actually comes in the box. Specific words. I want some summary of resources to show so I can understand what's going on and I can communicate that out with all my peers and my boss. Sounds great. So let's figure out exactly how we're going to do that. So here we are in project, building on the plan as Ben had it. And I actually know that here in the Reports tab under Resources, there's a Resource Overview report, which is perfect. My boss will be wowed. So here I have the Resource Overview, exactly as it is in the box, and I just need to rename it Resource Summary. Summary of resources is what was asked for. Resource summary sounds great. But there's one thing I can do here. We have a little template that we need to use for a theme. We have a theme specific for our company, and I haven't been using that theme. So I'm going to go and I'm going to apply my corporate theme to this slide, and you'll see the chart colors all change to respect that theme. So it's not actually in this big set of themes, but I can go find it. I know exactly what folder it's in. Here it is. Here's my theme. I hit open, and now you can see all the colors change. So if you have a corporate theme for your own sort of projects where you need to really obey it, you need the right colors and the right fonts and the right sizes, this reporting canvas will absolutely obey it. And if we were to copy and paste into a PowerPoint presentation that used the same theme or a different theme, once again, it will just follow the theme. It understands the first series color is this and the second series color is that, and you'll be able to follow that theme. We could apply it throughout all the slides, which we'll do a little bit later. So now I've got that resource summary. Seeming pretty good. Seeming pretty good. So we start executing on the overall project, and we start running into some issues and risks. And we've got a different scheme for storing our issues and risks. We don't have Project Server, so we don't have all the Project Server functionality for issues and risks. It just so happens Ben knows exactly how we're storing our issues and risks, and if he could include them in the report, that would help me out a lot. So Ben.
Okay, thank you. Who here stores their issues and risks in an Excel RAID worksheet? Oh. Nobody else does issues and risks, or you're Project Server guys? Okay. Let's switch over to here. So this is where we were on our monthly tasks. Now, it so happens that let's have a look. I store my issues and risks over here in a risk1.xls. So this is what a lot of people do. They end up with some Excel chart that gives me a graph or some Excel table that we then draw a chart on that looks like this. Now, obviously in Project Server you might do your issues and risks in some other way, but here we're in Project Standalone, so again, I can just go and copy this, Control-C, and we can go and stick that directly just as a graphic or an image within Project. So let's go on to my reports. We'll take a new report. We'll call that blank report, and this is our monthly issues and risks. Okay. So this starts to become interesting. The other data that we've seen so far has been driven from the project schedule and the project plan. And that's good, and that's what you really ideally want. But in our project plan, we don't store issues and risks, okay? Because our project plan is schedule data. So issues and risks we need to get from somewhere else. In my organization, we stick them in an Excel spreadsheet, as said. So it might seem a little counterintuitive to paste this data in. Might seem like you can't do it. Let's try that one. Okay, there we go. So what am I doing here? Well, really what I am trying to do and demonstrate to you is that your canvas for reporting is just that. It is just a canvas. You can stick on there whatever you want, okay, including images, logos, pretty pictures, images of risks or issues. So here's my risk chart, and we'll go over here. We have an issue tab, and we'll go and copy that. We'll highlight the right bit. We'll copy that. Come over. Oh. Paste that in. Again, it's just come in as an image, so I can change the size if I want. We can do that. Make these, whoa. Make these look and feel about the right sort of size. I'll come in and just put a shape around here, so you can start doing all of this little lot as well. So we might just put some sort of border on that, send that to the back. Send to back, there we go. I'll just Control C and control that over to here. We'll send that one to the back. Okay, we'll just put that in the middle. So formatting, when you start to think about reports, formatting and visualizing the data and making things easy and nice for people to read is really important. Because I bet you if you produce a nasty report and give it to your manager, are they going to read it? No. Okay, so there's a couple of times that you want to do that, right? When your project's going really badly. Okay, nasty report, give it to your manager, job done, go home, and then think about trying to get another job. Okay. Otherwise, everything should be really nice. Yes, my friend, question? So is that dynamically linked? No. This is just a pure cut and paste of the graphical image. Yeah. Yes? What if you track your risks and issues on your project site? Well, if you track them on your project site, everybody can get access to them there anyway. So it would be a discussion and a decision by yourself as to whether you wanted to cut and paste a view of those risks and issues in here. Well, if you have Project Server, yes. So if you've got Project Server, then yes, all of those issues and risks are already put into the reporting tables in the database, and they're available via Excel services. Yeah, okay. But in this case, of course, we're not. We're just dealing with issues and risks in Excel. So the other thing about this is we might want to provide a little bit of narrative about issues and risks. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to introduce a new shape or another. I'll say a new shape. All my shapes are pretty similar. This one looks like this. We'll just move that down a little bit. And we will make that, well, we'll edit that. So we'll format that. We'll say the shape fill is no fill. And we will change the shape outline to be a black color. That's good. Okay, so now I've basically got a box like that. Control C, Control V. We will duplicate that. Put that over here. And we'll have another nice shape that looks like this. And in here, we'll type in risk narratives. Control C, and Control C, Control C. Oh, escape. Anybody like me where they have to talk when they're using the keyboard? I don't find it frustrating, but you might. Okay, so now I've got a sort of format where I've cut and pasted some risks and issue graphs in, okay, not dynamically linked, and then I've got a text area underneath where I can start to say, it's not. Don't you love white text? Let's just take that as black. Okay, so you would associate with that risk, perhaps, or those risks, just some narrative, and then you would format that and put that in the right sort of area so that you can begin to put narrative on your project report. No reason not to do that. So again, some of your data for this monthly report perhaps is going to be driven directly from the project data, and the rest of it, actually, you can have this as a template. And I realize I've misspelt risk. You can have this as a template, and so each month you come in and you just update what's happening in this area. Okay, so that was the purpose of that piece. I think we're done. Does that look good for you? We manage to be happy with that, Phil?
Looks great.
Okay.
So now we're on to some finishing touches. There's some various things I need to do to really make it work all together. I've created all these reports, but if you end up in one report, in order to go to another report, I have to go find my way to the reporting tab and figure out which report I want. And once somebody's in a report, it'd be really nice if I could just send them through the whole report page by page by page and give them the ability to move from any one to any other. I'd also like to be able to print it out, be able to give somebody a hard copy of it here and there, be able to print them, pass them out at whatever the big review meeting is, just in case I need to be able to print, just in case I can use all that paper. And so I think that being able to really finish all the styling and finish all the navigation will make it a really superb report, a really nice report. So now I'm going to pick up where Ben left off. And the first thing to do is all that navigation stuff, because that navigation stuff is going to be paramount to get right. So the first thing I'm going to do is, right now, I want to create those blocks for the overview.
Before we do that, Phil, can you show me all of those separate reports under the report tab?
Oh, absolutely.
Because I don't believe you.
So here are all the report tabs under the recent. And so we've got the monthly highlights, which is actually this one. We have monthly tasks. We have monthly risks and issues. And we have the resource overview.
Go on, just show me one of them. Go on. Okay.
Boom. Resource summary.
Yeah, okay, that'll do. I just didn't believe you.
Oh, well, that's okay. Monthly tasks, themed. So let me go back all the way to that monthly highlights. And I actually want to create the links between these different reports. And so I'm going to insert a shape. I've left this region here just so I could do this. Copy, paste, paste, paste. And I'll line them up here in a minute. The last one we created was risks and issues. So now I have to make it a little bit bigger. But
so you're just creating buttons here,
just
right?
Creating buttons.
Okay.
I mean, if this were HTML, this would be some sort of nav bar across the top. Now let me go back to that report tab and look under recent so I can get the name just right. Monthly risks and issues. So now I'm going to come here, and I'm going to add a hyperlink. Now I can right-click and do hyperlink, or I can do Control-K just like I would in many other Office apps. And I want to use existing file or web page, and I actually can address it just by putting in its name, preceded by the hashtag, right here in this box. Hit OK, click. I'm not sure what happened there. And then it brings me right over to that report.
Okay, so has anybody seen a document to the web or on the web of how you do this? No, it's not there. Well, at least I couldn't find it. Bing couldn't find it. So this is pretty good stuff because actually nobody really knows how to do this. I don't think it's in any books, or unless anybody wants to tell me different. So this is really key. So in order to create this, it takes a little bit of thinking about, but you end up creating these buttons with the hyperlinks in, as Phil's just demoed, and we'll demo the rest of them.
Mm-hmm. And so I can go back to, in fact, I can paste right here because I happen to have one on the clipboard, and I can actually make one for the overview. And let's call it correctly, it was the highlights. I'll come back through later and through the power of demos actually show you the complete thing. But in this case, I just do the same exact process. I'm able to put in the URL or the name of the report preceded by the hashtag, and that becomes my link all the way back here. And now I can flip between these two with ease. And with a little bit of work, I can actually get them all together. I can get them all lined up. I can put the exact same navigation on all four. And if I happen to have a navigation that links back to itself, it doesn't actually break anything or change anything. So with a little bit of the magic of demos, I switch over to one where I've already done that. And I can just click around. There's overview, there's task burn down, there's resource summary. Here's my risks and issues again. And I've turned on one other thing. Remember I said something about printing?
Just before we do that,
Oh.
What do you think of that? Yeah? Whoa. Give it up for Phil. Well done, dude.
So with printing, I can turn on page breaks and it'll show based upon my current printer properties exactly what it's going to go to. So I can like Control P and I can see print preview. That's fine. But if I make my way through all the reports, I turn on page breaks, I'm going to find some that don't quite fit. And so here's where I do things like I actually just shrink down the content a little bit in order to make it fit.
And you don't lose anything in that. It's just
formatted.
Does it nicely.
It's exactly what you would do in Word or Excel or PowerPoint to do exactly the same thing. But what it does, and I can do some multi-select here and bring up all three of these together using the arrow keys. Now they're not across the break. And now I would actually be able to print out these reports. They'd fit on a page exactly where I want. I can compare the look and feel. I can make all the edits that I want to get it just right. And then I would be able to print it out and hand it out. And people would be able to use it and have all that data that they need. Everyone could like flip to their particular report, and the same if they do it by opening up the project plan. But I'm just one project manager. Sorry, sir?
Well, maybe you're going to get to there, but it looks like you're going to have to share this file in order to be able for anyone else to see those reports. It's not going to be available outside this environment, right?
Correct. So there's a couple of aspects of that, and you're right on what I was going to show next. So for my own personal use, so I can have the same thing month after month after month in different projects that I'm working on, I want to actually add this to the global. So I can, from right here in the Reporting Tools tab, that contextual tab that shows up on the canvas.
So let's just put that into perspective. So what we've got here now in this project is when we save this project is we've got our inbuilt reports into this project that are driven from the project. So comes the end of the month now, and every month, the driving data or the data that drives reports and the process to keep that up to speed is just Phil doing his job. Yeah, updating the project schedule to match what's happened in reality, and then moving tasks forward in future that haven't yet started, okay, and then taking cut and paste from issues and risks and typing in some narrative. Print, that's his monthly report done, okay? Or copy to PowerPoint, but we'll look at that, yeah? So that should save you a whole host of time. Do you think? Yes or no? I know. Yeah, okay. So that's why reporting is really good, because you can build up, not just use the Microsoft out-of-the-box reports, but really build up a report that's specific to you and your organization and what your portfolio manager demands with your logos, your themes, and anything else that you want that is embedded within your organization. Yeah, that's kind of a process that we've got to quite quickly over the last 20 minutes, but that's really where we are. And then we're on to the place where the portfolio manager says, hey, that's really nice. How do I roll that out across my other 6 team members or 20 team members, or even in a project server world, put it in the enterprise global and then have that available for the enterprise across 2,000 or 3,000 project managers. Yeah. Is that okay, Phil?
Yep.
Sorry.
Yep. Perfect. So I'm able to go to the organizer. Now, if I were connected to the server, I could actually open the Enterprise Global, check it out, be able to make all the exact same edits. But in the Reports tab, I can go and I can grab these reports. So what do we had? We had monthly highlights, we had risks and issues, we had tasks, and we had overview. And I can just copy them into the global. And I'm going to have to rename the resource overview because that was one of the out of the box. But remember, we called it resource summary. And I hit OK, and we're done. Now, if that were the Enterprise Global, it would now be shared with all of the other project managers throughout the entire enterprise, everyone using that exact same instance of Project Web Access. For myself, I put that actually in the local global, and so the way it works for me is I can now use that in all of my projects, and if my company has a way of rolling out a global.mpt to everyone in the organization, we could add it to that one, and they could pick it up just like that.
Or, of course, you could just save a sort of blank report template like that into an MPP plan. It's saved as part of the MPP plan. Email the MPP plan around and tell people to put that into their global, or by default, those reports will go into your global anyway upon opening that MPT. Okay, so you could just email and it kind of spreads in a nice way like that.
Sir?
Can you create a button, just to be able to access the overview report so you can save maybe a couple of minutes going to do that, like a macro button?
Quick access toolbar.
Question is can we create a button on something like the quick access toolbar or somewhere on the ribbon that goes to a specific report? Yeah. So we can add kind of the recent reports as Ben has just done. Oh.
There we go.
Yeah. So Ben has added to his quick access toolbar the recent reports directly from right here, so the recent. So that's how that. Now I'm trying to work out a way mentally as I'm standing here to do that, and I can't think of one right now, but it may come to me, and maybe with a little bit of exploration we can find a way.
A macro would definitely do it. Right, Rod? Yeah. So your macro man's sitting there, 1, 2, 3, 4th row down, 3rd in. Okay? So a macro, you could definitely do that with a macro. Very easy 2-minute job. I'm sure if you bought him a beer tonight in the Hilton, that would be done. Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
We need that.
So there are a number of best practices we could talk about, but I think actually, Ben, if you could.
Yep. So the first, as I mentioned earlier, is always strive for something that's visually attractive. If you can get your marketing people involved, or somebody who can create nice, pretty diagrams, etc., then get those people involved. Make sure these reports really do jump off the screen. Project can provide you with the data, okay? But again, if you give a nasty-looking report to somebody, it's going to go to the bottom of the pile or go in the bin. Okay, so that's the first thing. Secondly, do what we've done. Start small, but focus on specific areas for your audience. Don't give somebody a 20-page report and say it's in there. That's why a report always has an executive summary at the beginning, because executives have a short memory span, right? Short attention span, because it's, where's the next game of golf coming from? Who's going to take me skiing this winter? Those sorts of things. So make it short, make it snappy, and focus on the key important things. Milestones, what's due next week? What's happened last week? Where are the issues and risks? What do I need to focus on? On a 40-line project plan or a 5,000 line project plan, you've got to be able to focus quickly into the areas where people are interested. We said that those kind of wall of data reports had disappeared and have been deprecated, and they have been. So what happens if I want a lot of assignment data, task usage data, etc.? Well, really, you've got two options there. The first is you can still utilize the task usage views or the resource usage views in Microsoft Project. So if you need who's doing what, when, over what time period and time scale, then take one of those views, customize it, and then have that as part of your standard report. Okay? I have in my global, and you saw it quickly when it was on the screen, but I didn't call it out, something called a customer status view. Okay? That's my view that I use for my cut and paste into the customers. So utilize a visual report, utilize a resource and task usage view for that. And the other thing is, again, you can export all of the data into an OLAP cube and utilize that in visual reports. So if you need, again, deep analysis of the data and you want to slice and dice it in some way, and these reports don't cut it for you, then utilize Excel or Visio and utilize the visual reports piece. Now you can also, not many people know this, you can save that OLAP cube down to your local desktop. So then you can get at that with Access or something else like that. So again, if you've got that sort of mentality, if I want to start diving into this using an Access database and bring out Access reports, actually that's capable as well, but you have to do it via this sort of visual reports module. Okay, so that would be that best practice. The second best practice is just be aware that any new views you create and a report, the reports we've been through are really just new views, they get put into the global automatically, okay, into your local global. So if you're me and you're a consultant and you do demos like this for your living, then what happens is your global just becomes polluted with all of these test report 1 and Gantt chart 5 and timeline 44. So before you start doing any of this, have a look at whether you want to enable or disable that option within your file options. Yeah? Okay. Is that you? Me?
That's me.
Me?
So, there are a few other sessions these two days on reporting, and there's actually one that's still to be done tomorrow morning that somehow seems to have slipped off of our slide. Ben will hurriedly look up. But with everything being recorded, if there's one of these that really speaks to you, looks like it will satisfy some need, give you some information, or you just have some curiosity about, these are other things that have to do with reporting, and they will even show you things about how to do some of those reports using Visio, and also how to do reports against Project Online using the OData feeds. Those are going to be very helpful for a more holistic approach or a deeper analysis approach if you're looking for those deep analysis of assignment data, for instance, with Visio, or I need reports across hundreds of projects in my organization, and therefore I need to use some sort of server-based solution. So that's just to give you an idea of, like, these are the other sessions that are available.
These are the other sessions that are available. Okay. So I think the one we missed off was Business Intelligence Infrastructure Deep Dive, the one at the bottom in Project Online and Project Server 2013. Okay. So apologies for that.
So I just wanted to bring you back to kind of the purpose for reporting. Everyone, of course, has their own purpose. But just some of the things that we wanted to make sure to point out is that reporting enables the project manager to communicate. It's about transmitting the information with all those different audiences and give them the information they need to really make the right decision. And if the data is in the format that they like, that they're able to best read, they're able to much more quickly make the right decision. And if the right decision is to give you a raise, is that the right term?
Yeah.
A raise, bonus, whatever, so much the better.
I've got one last thing to add. One thing that you can do with this, and I've got a customer that does this, is this. We've just shown this in a single project. Okay, this will work in a master project environment. So if you've got a master project and you've inserted multiple projects as part of that program, then this reporting will work over that process as well. So if you've need to do a program report across multiple projects, then again, you can open up that master project, insert those individual projects, and run your reports. The investment, of course, is up the front, but you get that back time and time again. Okay, yes, sir.
I found out that you need to expand all the sub-projects to make them visible in the reports.
Yes, so the valid comment was that, of course, you need to expand all of the sub-projects in order to get that data into the reports. But that's not unlike making sure that there are no filters applied before you do something else. Yeah.
Sir?
I noticed in project that when you have a master program in Project Pro, not all your fields roll up on your baselines, for example, based on the project plans. It will show at the summary level, the highest level, which is where I'd like to see some of that data, as zeros or empty.
Let's take that offline, because it's a inserted sub-project, master project type question. So yeah, if you can, we'll give you our emails and we'll try and help you out on that one. Yeah. The solution is VBA to roll it out for you. Yeah. I wonder which book Rod writes. Go on, at the back you were first, sir.
The cumulative, the new fields, the cumulative time-based, whatever word you use.
Yep.
Are they available anywhere outside of the reporting system? Can we put them in as columns? Can we use them in macros?
Yep, all of it. So the question was, those cumulative time-phased work and task baseline fields and actual fields, are they available elsewhere? Yes, they are. Right-click in an assignment view, and you'll be able to see them. So task usage or resource usage, those fields are there. Absolutely.
Okay.
You can use them everywhere. Yes, my friend.
You mentioned multi-project reporting.
Yep.
What about project server? Is that a place where they overlap each other? Can project server do something like it? So you also get your multi-project reporting there?
Okay, so the question was, what about project server and multi-project reporting? They're two different, completely two different environments, really. So everything you've seen today would work in Project Server or Project Online or Project Pro for Office 365 connected to a Project Server environment. However, so that would be fine, and you can still have inserted projects in a master project environment in Project Server 2007, 2010, and 2013, and therefore Project Online as well. However, how you report in Project Server is often different, and typically, as well as creating this sort of report, or instead of, you might create a SQL Server reporting services report or an Excel services report. And of course, you've then got the question of, how do I group projects in Project Server? Do I use this master project and sub-project environment, which I personally don't like, or do I use some other way of enabling a program project with then those inserted work streams? So it'll work, but you would explore other options in a Project Server environment. Yeah.
Any good reference material, books or things that you recommend?
Any good reference material, books I would recommend? I would put you onto my slide at the beginning. You might find something interesting there. Thank you.
When you mentioned that you could have multiple timelines
Yep.
in 2013,
Yep.
as you create a new timeline, do you then select the specific tasks that you would like to have on them, and they will only appear on that timeline?
Yeah, so the question was, if you create a new timeline, do you need to put the specific tasks on that timeline, and will they only appear on that timeline? So the answer is, you need to put the tasks on. One task can appear on multiple timelines. That's up to yourself, of course. But each timeline has to have the tasks put on it by you as the project manager. Yeah. Okay, great. Anybody else? We might make this the last one then.
Earlier you said the timeline automatically syncs on server.
Yep.
You create more than one, and let's say you will, or can you default to the next one, or can you do both?
So the timeline that will sync will be the inbuilt timeline that comes with project.
Is this SharePoint server or Project Server?
So technically you can switch between the different timelines on the SharePoint side, but you have to insert your own timeline web part. You can't use what would come with the site natively. And then in the web part properties for that particular web part, you can switch which timeline is the one that you want to see.
Could you have two web parts?
You could have two web parts that actually point at different ones. Takes a bit of manipulation through the browser in order to create it. But yes, absolutely.
All right. Okay, I think we'll let you go 10 minutes early. Thank you very much. Please do fill in those feedback forms on my PC. That would be really useful. Thank you. Set me up for that. Well done, Phil.